So hello, everyone, and welcome to the special and Committee of the Whole Council meeting for the Village of Lytton on October 7th. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone to please turn off your videos, mute your microphones to allow Council to begin the proceedings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded, but not live streamed. Thank you, Your Worship. You may call the meeting to order.
Thank you. I call this special council meeting to order at 11 a.m. I do want to begin by recognizing that we're meeting on the unceded ancestral traditional territory of the Ntlaka'an people. And in accordance with our council procedure bylaw, we have Kathy Walters here today in the capacity of Deputy Corporate Officer. All right, so we do require a motion to adopt the agenda for today's meeting. So move Lightfoot. Thank you. Second, Councillor McCann. All those in favor? Carried. And now a motion to adopt the minutes of the September 2nd special council meeting. So moved. Thank you, Councillor McCann. Seconder. Lightfoot. Councillor Lightfoot. Are there any errors or omissions? Okay, all those in favor and carried. All right, we require a motion to move into the Committee of the Whole meeting. I'll make that motion. Thank you. And the seconder? I'll second. Thank you, Councillor Lightfoot. And all those in favor? Carried. All right, so now we are moved into the Committee of the Whole meeting. So we're starting a whole new agenda here. We're going to do it again. So adoption of the agenda for today. We need the motion, Councillor McCann, and a seconder.
I'll second.
So, thank you, Councillor Michelle. All those in favor? Carried. And adoption of the minutes of the last Committee of the Whole meeting, September 2nd.
Sorry, I put my hand up there for the adoption of the agenda. I just wanted a clarification on our meeting today. Is there or is there not public comment?
It's not on. Oh, sorry.
There is. Yes, there is.
It's next on the agenda, Councillor Toss. If you
Okay, I wasn't sure. Sorry, thank you.
All right. We have sorry, where were we? Adopting the minutes. Yeah. Does he have a seconder? I'll second if you need. Thank you, Councillor McCann. And were there any errors or omissions on the minutes?
I'm sorry, who did move it? I didn't see anybody move it.
Good question. Let's go back. Adoption of the minutes of September 2nd. Councillor Lightfoot has moved. Councillor McCann second. Any errors or omissions? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right. Now we move on to public comment on the agenda, item number 4, and I'm going to turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storoshenko.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Members of the public are now invited to comment on matters related to the agenda. So if you'd like to speak, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. You can find that by clicking on React at the bottom of your screen and then click raise hand. When it's your turn, I'll read your name and you'll be asked to unmute yourself. You'll have 2 minutes to speak. Speakers are asked to please state and spell your name and say your address. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. I'll call for a second time. If anyone would like to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Again, that can be found at the bottom of your screen under React. And I'll call for a third time. If anyone wishes to speak, please use the raise hand function now. Your Worship, I don't see anybody online wishing to speak. Is there anyone there at Parish Hall?
No, there's not.
All right, so thank you. That completes the public comment portion of the meeting. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you. So we are going to move on to item number 5, which is staff reports. And we are holding this, this Committee of the Whole meeting, which is a meeting for discussion and questions. And the topic for today is around parks, so our green space enhancements and wayfinding strategy. So we have Carolyn Lamont here today, who's going to be making a presentation to us.
Thank you. Just pop up the PowerPoint. I'll just give a little bit of an introduction. This report sort of has three components to it. One is a parks enhancement, looking at some of our parks and how we can improve them. And then the second one is generally discussion about a landscape approach for the village as we move forward. And then the final one is looking at doing some wayfinding planning and where we go from there. So the reason this is called interim park enhancement and wayfinding is really to do some things in the next year and a bit to improve some of the parks that you've always had. The OCP process will look at future parks and future expansions. So we're really just doing the here and now right at this point. Lisa, if you can change the slide. So as I mentioned, we'll be looking at park enhancement, design approach, and wayfinding. A lot of this direction is supported by the destination plan that you did on not only making great places for people as they're starting to come back into Lytton, but also for the community to enjoy. And definitely in some of the informal discussions we have had so far on the OCP, it sounds like I really like this term, that people like to have spots where they bump into each other. And I thought that was good. And that's sort of what they talked about with what we've done with the shade structure in Pocket Park. Next slide. So the four parks to look at is Dwyer Park, Flag Park, which is out the highway with the sign, the river access, which really doesn't have a name, and then Pocket Park. Next slide. So what I'm going to do is just briefly go through some of these. The report does contain history or what the current conditions or pre-conditions were, some photos. But with O'Dwyer Park, which is really at the end of 6, right? We need to do soil upgrading and replacement just from the fire, irrigation upgrade, landscape improvements, thinking more seasonal planting, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. The fence, as much as the barbed wire is probably really what BC Rail likes, it's maybe not as aesthetic, so that is an option. Return the picnic table, and then obviously a new sign. So those were for O'Dwyer. Flag Park is again soil and upgrading and replacement, irrigation upgrade, and landscape improvements. Again, similar to most communities, that there's always a sort of a landscape feel, and it's often seasonal as you come into the community. So now it would be lazy black-eyed Susans, and just color through the seasons, and very inviting for people coming by the highway. And it sort of shows that you're vested in your community. I always think I always like that landscaping. The river access is probably the most ambitious one. We have heard in some of the informal comments that people really want river access. There's an existing gold pan reserve down there. There was a boat launch, and I went down yesterday, and there's definitely 5 feet of sand. I thought Public Works was exaggerating, but wow, there's you could have a dune buggy fest there. Repairing the access road that was quite damaged from the flood and the fire. Future park infrastructure such as wayfinding, a park sign, benches, shade trees, and perhaps a composting, maybe not composting. Public Works thought they might be able to connect it. But so something that really becomes almost your beach or your get together with that water focus, which is would be nice. That one comes with a bigger price tag, mostly the remediation work to get rid of that sand, and then the tree removal as well. We also at this time would like to limit vehicular traffic down there. And look at short term until these improvements and the roads access is improved, is really only allowed pedestrian. I did it yesterday, and I think it was like a 5-minute walk for me, so it's not really that far. And then the last one, I actually should remove that. We're not cladding or fencing around the washroom. It's an interim until the village office is built, so we don't need to spend more into that. The drinking fountain, oh, this should be upgraded. It's upgraded in your report. Apologies. This is actually a water bottle filling station, and again, that might be with the village office, the picnic table, and then a permanent sign. So that's really just, so the price is probably a little less than that, probably closer to like $5,000. Yeah, with the drinking, yeah, with a refill station. Although that might, again, be better off at the village office. The next is to really pivot a little bit. And if you recall, you did, we are working on the landscape plan for Pocket Park. The landscape architect we're using we went on site with Public Works, also gave input from you about Indigenous planting, planting that is not heavy on the water use, but yet also not a fire hazard. So we're looking at rewild. The term's called rewild planting, and our landscape architect was in Lillooet and Split Rock, which is a Statlium owned company. And he actually was really blown away. And this landscape architect, 30 years ago was trying to get nurseries to plant things that would work in Whistler as opposed to the Lower Mainland. And so he was very blown away by this operation and thinks it's really, really helpful as you replant. We also sat down with the Public Works just to understand maintenance, because we didn't really want. And so the intent for this is to make it not heavy on the maintenance either as we move forward. Obviously, clean up in the spring like you do with your own garden. And then it's meant to be seasonally colorful. So things change, which always blows me away how people know how to do that. And then, so that will be Pocket Park. But the question is, as we move into O'Dwyer or we move into the other ones, is that something that you'd like us to keep going on? And then also, as we move in the OCP update, this will come later through the DP guidelines, whether you wanted to introduce that rewilding planting approach as well. So, I mean, the great thing about a Pocket Park is you're going to get probably a season of it. They'll start planting in the spring. Unfortunately, we lost the window because of the ARC investigations, but you'll start to see it. So you'll be able to enjoy it next summer. Okay, next slide. Then the last one is wayfinding, and really starting with public facilities and letting people know. And with the village office, with the community hub coming, all the other things like the river access, you might want to let people know. And so we would work with the community on that wayfinding plan. I do understand that there's people really like the existing street signs, and you could probably work with that. So there we go. So that's the presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I just have to say, I appreciate this coming out of our strategic plan and out of our, the recommendations that came out of the study we had done.
Yeah. Essentially Lytton.
Yeah. Essentially Lytton. That's what it was called. Yeah. So no, this is great to see this come forward. I'm wondering if we take a look at, we go through each of the 4 parks and maybe discuss them, because they're similar, but they are different as well.
Mayor O'Connor,
Yes.
can I just make one comment about funding, just so that
Yes, for sure.
people are aware of, where these improvements would be funded from. So I just wanted to potentially remind council, you probably already know this, we do have the community enhancement grant that we received in 2023 for $619,000 that's intended for community enhancement projects, parks, Main Street revitalizations, those types of things. We have that currently sitting in a reserve, and I think we allocated I think it was like up to 30,000 for the Pocket Park improvements that are already underway, but the remainder of that is still sitting in the reserve. So that would be the funding that would be used for the the park improvements. The wayfinding project is covered in the Ministry of Forests Economic Development Grant that we received just after the fire. There was, you may remember, there was 500,000 that was spent on initial operating expenses, and then there was $500,000 left for a number of economic development initiatives, and one of them is a wayfinding system plan. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thank you for that. So with this plan, I know there was some there was some projected costs. I mean, they're ballpark costs. So what was the total out of that 600 that would potentially, possibly be
used up in this project?
Yeah,
I know I didn't do total.
sorry,
Diane's
I should
probably
have done
quicker.
math in my head, but I'm not.
It looks like 160.
So about 160 potentially out of the
Does that
600.
include the wayfinding, Carolyn?
No,
Yes.
just
Yes,
Yes,
it
you can
does.
take the
Sorry.
50 out for the wayfinding, so 110 for parks, and then 50 out of the Ministry of Forests grant.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, council, do you agree that maybe we just go through each of the parks and discuss, or do you want to open it up generally? I just thought maybe we could focus a little bit.
Yeah, I'd like your comments.
Yeah. So let's begin with, where are we here?
O'Dwyer?
O'Dwyer Park, yeah. Thoughts on the presentation and comments, Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm just curious when, and maybe it was there and I didn't see it, when you were talking about O'Dwyer Park, there was no mention of water filling station, but in the documents that we've got, it had been
Yeah, there wouldn't be in that one, unless that is something you wanted to look at. We could.
I think it was in,
I think I had it in the.
wayfinding.
It was in pocket.
Let me see if I can bring it up again.
I think it was in O'Dwyer Park initially, Carolyn, but
Okay, was it? Okay.
Yeah, because it was Pocket Park.
What
and
about
O'Dwyer
a
Park.
filling station? Right
Okay.
at the bottom on page
Yeah.
4 that we.
And I think that's a good location for a water filling station.
There's a lot of people.
Or if they're doing irrigation, could maybe dovetail what's
So what
on.
does that look like for a water bottle station, whether it's, yeah, we're talking about O'Dwyer Park, but like it would only be open for certain times a year.
Right,
I
season.
Yeah, I'm just curious about what that looks like, being out on its own in a park.
Yeah. I think
I
we
don't
have to look at different than what you see, say, at the airport, which, obviously is
Right.
wired and computer and all that. So yes, we would have to look at probably something more attuned to a tap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something simple.
Something
simple,
simple.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Maybe we could camouflage it behind a bunch of rocks.
Yeah.
So it looks natural, but
Yeah.
it's.
Oh, yeah.
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 I would worry about maintenance and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, but yeah. All right, sorry,
It's okay.
thank you, Councillor Light, but other comments, O'Dwyer Park, regarding O'Dwyer Park?
I had some.
Councillor McCann?
When we first were working on the Chief Spentland Park, there was a notion of connecting the two,
Huh?
O'Dwyer and Chief Spentland. So out here on the side where the little bollard is, it was suggested that the village might want to consider making that some kind of nice little pathway that walks down to O'Dwyer and take a look at how that all could connect together. And so I just thought I'd bring that up and have that on the table as something to consider as well.
Okay.
So the Spentland Park project is never met all of its hopes and dreams. So there's still like a phase 2 out there in dreamland. So maybe it could be on the village's list. So for example, making the walkway from the bridge down into the park a safe and accessible thing, putting in a fence so that people don't fall off the cliff, and this connection to O'Dwyer Park. Those were some of the things that never got included in the grant that is currently being worked on here. So I wouldn't mind just kind of including it as part of the thinking about the future. That
Yeah, and we could get it as an add-on, like you could plug it in if it works, yeah.
Yeah.
As a consideration.
Yeah, just to have it on the table.
Okay, yeah.
As an option to consider.
Anything else about O'Dwyer Park? Councillor Toss?
Thank you. Just a comment putting forward from the public around the bank, the steepness of it, and have we had an inspection? And is that something that we could either ask of CN as it's their responsibility, or could we get some photos of the bank and just to ensure that if we put a fence there, maybe it could be on top of lock blocks or what that would entail? I do know that the Spitland Park, I think Councillor McCann, you said there was a fence plan for the top of the embankment. And I was out there a couple days ago. It looked really dangerous. So I'm just wondering if there's any plans around that or just putting it out there. And a question, do we know if O'Dwyer Park has had irrigation, like a water fountain in the past?
Yes, it has. It has had underground watering as well as a fountain. So there's water somehow under there. There's a water connection of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as for the slope, is that going to be on our radar?
It is.
She's taking notes.
It is now.
She's writing
Thank you,
notes.
Caroline. I appreciate that.
Yeah, she's collecting all the information that we're sharing.
Well, and I will say that this report is really an overview, and we'll get you more details as we dig in. And very similar to what we did with the shade structure in Pocket Park, is we're going to keep. So the more comments, better.
Yeah, the more information you're gathering, and Councillor Michelle, do you have any comments on O'Dwyer Park?
No, it'd just be nice to have it available and upgraded.
Yeah, definitely. I had some photos of O'Dwyer Park before the fire, and I was able to share them, and it's just quite amazing how green it was, even without the irrigation, compared to what it looks like now. So it was just so much more inviting. Yeah. Any other comments regarding O'Dwyer Park at this time?
What were you saying about the planting and landscaping in that particular park?
So there's a couple of things you could think about. The landscape architect did look at whether you wanted to keep the lawn. I mean, when you see the pictures, it really does look nice. Or some other options, but also around the fence, just make it more the seasonal, the wild planting that's just colorful. And right now it's
for a while there, the Two Rivers Community Service were putting in little annuals over there once.
Oh, okay.
In a while. It was something that somebody wanted to do. So it's clearly, so to me, it would be, is the fence is really important.
yes,
I think.
safety. Yeah.
And so are there going to be like bushes, like that kind of like, or is it going to be just annuals? Like those are the kinds of.
No, there would definitely be bushes and perennials. Yeah, not annuals, because that would be maintenance.
Yeah.
And so it's really, and it sounds like the more I learn how the park is used, is people enjoyed it and walked in it and looked out from it. So the grass is important, and then so it would be on the edges.
Yes.
Create a nice space.
I know originally the metal fence was up, the wire fence, and then in front of that were shrubs, and they were all the same.
Yeah.
And they were lovely. I think they turned red in the fall, but it also prevented people from going up and leaning on the fence and looking over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And I think that was strategically done. Yeah.
That's a good comment.
I was gonna say, I think it was in 08 or 10, somewhere around there, that chain link fence along the outside edge, there was a planting of, I think they were miniature lilacs, which were only supposed to be 3 or 4 feet tall. And that was to hide the fence in part and to keep people back from the edge.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think something a little lusher than Pocket Park might be desired. It's just
meaning like with the lawn.
with the lawn.
Yeah, I think so too.
Particularly.
I think there's an idea of grass there myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got enough dry dead spaces.
That bare feet hit
Bare
the
feet.
soil. And,
Yeah.
I do notice the trees that are in the sidewalk outside of the park, or just at the park there, how you know, they were planted for shade and such, but the root ball has grown up and expanded and I don't know what could be done about that, whether anything can be done, but
Okay,
if you notice the base of the tree and it's pushing all the bricks and everything
yeah,
out,
okay.
Could maybe even
something
have
to look at.
stone surrounds, so the soil is lifted
Oh,
2 or
great
3
stuff.
feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at
It
that.
could be a place to sit also.
Okay. Anything else with the Dwyer Park? Don't see anything online. All right, shall we move to the next one? If something comes up, we'll still come back to it, but so the next one, Flag Park up by the highway. All right, anybody like to start on that one? Councillor McCann.
I noticed that it didn't say to repaint. It's fine.
It's a separate project.
Seriously.
Is the sign part of the wayfaring
Uh,
project?
I believe it's part of another grant. Is that correct?
Yeah,
See,
that the Ministry of Forest grant also allows for a bit of a rebranding strategy. And so that would include something like redesigning that sign and repaint. I mean, we could repaint it now to just,
Yeah.
freshen it up, but we
Yeah.
wouldn't change it yet because we've got that funding to do that work.
Yeah, until we know what it potentially could look like.
I think it's
Yeah.
important to say that, because it does look pretty shabby.
Yeah.
I
I
have
why we're not doing anything
Just
with
a
that.
minute, Councillor Toss.
I would like to see that sign painted, the train removed with something that could be put on top of it that says Incletmuc territory
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I
immediately, like yesterday.
personally, I've had people say they really like the train, so.
Yeah, but your demographic that you're talking to on the daily might be not the people that enjoy the Incletmuc territory so much. That branding, I don't know, maybe that's not
Yeah,
the messaging I'm getting from the
Yeah,
people that I
I
hang
think
out with.
Yeah, personally, I think if we're going to be putting money into it, that rebranding is going to be really important. And I would like maybe the staff to take a look at the sign and see, is there something they can do to spruce it up at this point in time?
And
or
that's
is
where
it
I
too
would
much?
that's where I would suggest Mayor O'Connor a quick paint job and a covering up of the train logo, because that is undisputed as contentious, and I think that goes around all demographics. Certainly, we saw that with the defacing of the CN train monuments. So I don't think we're on the hook to CN for any branding there. So I think that in Incletmuc territory, putting that over there with a Vista print $300 sign would be a very good advancement of morale in the village, not to mention aesthetics. And it would not be expensive nor requiring of a committee or a plan.
Your comments are noted. I just thought you wrote it down.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connor.
Councillor Lightfoot.
If I can just continue on that vein, I see no reason why the train can't stay, and we can add a recognition of the territory, it's the Incletmuc territory. The train, there's a lot of people in our community that work for the rail.
That's true. Yeah.
We have 2 rail lines going through our community. We have a lot of train enthusiasts that travel the canyon, in particular to see the many bridges that trains cross. So I would suggest it doesn't have to be one or the other, it could be both.
Thank you, Councillor Lightfoot. I appreciate your comments. That makes me really rethink my thoughts on that in addition to the territory. But I think it is important that we put that out there and that sign gets a facelift, a cheap facelift. As soon
I
as
see
possible.
she's writing down the notes as well. So.
Oh, where do I stop?
I have other comments when there's a
All
chance.
right, Councillor Toss.
Yeah.
You have more? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just on the sort of the same vein as the recognition of the territory, because it is a flag park. It was brought forward from a resident, and I think it's a fantastic idea, and I'm not sure why it isn't already there, but if we could have a flag recognizing the territory or put it out to whatever organization.
Yeah, that's an idea. Maybe we could get staff to just take a look, see if there is a flag. I don't know that there even is one, but
I think That would be a question to
Yeah.
LFN to provide us with a flag.
Well, that would be up to staff to reach out to find out. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So to suggest to staff that could be an idea,
We can make that inquiry and find out. Yeah.
that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Other comments about Flag Park? Councillor McCann.
The one over there. There's mention of the lighting and the irrigation. And I remember looking around at that, like even trying to figure out up there what on earth was the deal there. But I didn't see, is the plan to kind of reconnect the lighting or just to forget about it altogether? Because I kind of think that the lighting was a good idea. Like the little spotlights that are supposed to go onto the sign, but don't seem to.
There is hydro.
Yeah, there is hydro there, and that was sort of all part of, if I get this correctly, is that once we improve the sign, it's all part of the sign package.
Oh.
Yeah, as opposed to this is the part. Is that, I think that's.
All right.
Yeah.
So what
that would
are
make
those bushes that are underneath the sign right now?
I don't know if they are.
They're not looking real healthy, are they?
No.
So, okay, so something along the lines of maybe what I'm thinking I was reading was something a little more colorful and something a little more seasonal, that there'll be a little bit of change, and just paying attention to it if pruning has to happen to make sure it does happen and things like that, right?
It's just early season and end of season, yeah.
Yeah. And does the grass stay as a question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that part, I wouldn't care if the grass stayed. It's not helping anything. It's just providing color. So it would be just fine to have whatever that xeriscaping is done, like with nice, lovely decorative rocks, perhaps, or because we seem to like rocks on the highway anyway. But like down here where people stand, the grass makes sense. Up there, nobody's going to stop there and look at the sign. Only the occasional tourist will want a picture taken beside that sign. But so I would say I do similar to what was on the highway sign, and kind of look at that as kind of a theme and use that sort of as a model. Because that's about a sign and about rocks and about a place to sit. Well, this is just about a sign. And
Councillor
Again, I think that planning was done in like 08 or 10, somewhere in that period. And unfortunately, some of the maples on the south side have died out. I think the last remaining one looks like it's near the end of its life.
Yeah.
And in large part because of the irrigation, there's always been a challenge there. Part of the challenge on that site is that when there's big events at the high school, or at the school, I should say, it's used as a parking lot, and sometimes like people go off the road and park on the grass. So a lot of the sprinkler heads were damaged and things like that. So I think, again, I'm sort of like in the middle, a nice circle of green around the sign with some plantings in there, but predominantly gravel or some sort of rock mix, I think would minimize maintenance and still make it look a little more inviting if it's a little lusher than just rock.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle, do you have any comments?
Just the same as what Councillor Lightfoot said about not having so much grass up there, because again, people do use it for parking.
Yeah.
And I've been noticing lots of the little smaller areas have been doing their rebranding, and they've all got new signs and the lighting. So looking forward to doing something with that and getting a new sign with the lighting in that.
Good, thank you. Councillor Toss.
I'm good with my comments on Pocket Park, just the comments putting forward from the public about identifying it as a public park. And that having like something, and I think Councillor McCann already alluded to this, not like necessarily a lawn, that's sort of passe, like a xeriscaping makes total sense that requires zero maintenance.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about it as well. And I was thinking, well, what if we had a bench and a picnic table? And I thought, no, we don't want to encourage people to stop on the highway. We want to encourage them to go down into town. So yeah, I hadn't thought about the rocks around it or gravel or whatever. But that makes total sense. We're not then cutting, we're not watering as much, but I would like to see water access somehow there. If there's water there, maybe a tap. If they're going to be water, if there's going to be plants there, they'll need some water, I think. If I'm right, I'm saying I'd like to see, but I'd like to hear whether that's even feasible. And then the other piece around the electricity and the lighting of the sign, yes. And if there's a way to have other access to hydro, for example, when the Two Rivers Community Service Society acquired lights and we went to decorate the tree up there at Christmas time, we thought from the highway it would be a perfect spot. There was no place to plug in the lights. So
And actually,
possibly, and there was before the fire. So
it's a great comment for all the parks is to have a plug-in.
Yeah.
Like a Dwyer too.
to have access.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there any interest in EV stations in any of the parks or near any of the parks?
I believe the EV there, you're looking at the town office,
Uh-huh.
like with the hub and the hub, yeah.
Councillor Lightfoot.
Recognizing that it is important to have electrical plugins. But is there some way that some solar lighting could, I mean, that's a pretty exposed place. If we could minimize our demand of hydro and save a little bit of money, that would be good.
Good, thank you. Councillor Toss.
Yeah, just to the comment about hydro, I've seen a lot of really good solar lighting projects as well that might be easier in some instances and locations.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor CIO Member Kett, I'm not sure if you had your hand up or not. No, okay, I thought I saw you waving. Yeah, and when I mentioned hydro, I use hydro broadly, right? Whatever kind of access to electricity. So yeah, that might be
Good call.
so. Any other comments about Flag Park? No. Okay, let's move on then to the river. Yeah, the river access. We always called it the raft takeout. I've never even thought of it referred to as a park, right? So this is something totally new for me, maybe others as well. Comments about the river raft takeout or the river park or whatever it's going to be called. Councillor Toss.
Thank you. I'm excited, most excited about this one because I think that's probably our most undiscovered, unutilized asset down there. And there's just so much potential. So yeah, thumbs up on developing and exploring these options.
Thank you. Other comments, Councillor Lightfoot?
I'm just wondering, I saw that part of the expense for developing that was sand removal, and I'm wondering why do we want to remove the sand?
Right now you can't use the launch or the rafting takeout.
But do we have any rafting companies that want to use it?
I think even as a boat launch, I think just as the general public, there was interest.
I know in the past when we had it, we had people would have to come in. It was locked at that point. The gate was locked at the tracks because liability and access was an issue. So people used to come in and they'd pay, I don't know, $10 or whatever to launch their boats. There weren't a lot of people that used it. Fisheries used it sometimes and the rafting companies. But the annual expense for maintaining that is quite high in addition to the lease. So I'm not sure that it's something that I think the village needs to examine it carefully to see if it's really a viable use or if we just want it to be natural and somehow protect ourselves from liability and claims from the general public by having some sort of posting that makes people aware of potential hazards for liabilities or whatever. The other thing is CN is really difficult to get clarity on where the lease is and what their expectations are. So I think it potentially could be a really nice area to use, but I think it needs a lot of research to get the legality straightened out.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Whenever I took kids down there, they love playing in the tunnel, just saying. There's a tunnel there that goes under the tracks, right? And for a great period of the year, there's no water in there. And it's just a fun place to go in and out of. And when there is water in there, the other thing that happens is people dam up the creek and make a swimming pool.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then right now, there's all manner of garbage in that creek. So there's a number of things that could happen with the creek and the riparian area and moving up into the parking lot and into the train tracks, like on either side of that little tunnel. So there's kind of, it might be something that we might want a community school group, for example, to take on as a project that they have children researching and incorporating. And like, to me, it seemed like something the kids could be more engaged in kind of maintaining that section of the creek and being more aware of it and taking a little ownership of it so they don't throw their stuff in it all the time. Yeah. And because I know the kids like to go and play in the sand. They love to go play in the sand, and they'll just, and you can see the fish go by in the fall. Like I've kind of done that with kids, that they march on down there and they play in the sand and they watch a fish go by and they throw rocks in the river, and it's just all fun. So it is a really nice space, and I like the idea of keeping it as kind of natural as possible without doing a lot of visible improvements. But the idea of a composting toilet is a really good idea. There's a lot of people that actually use that space, that it would be good to have that kind of facility available for the gold panners, for the hikers, for the overnight campers. Like there's a lot of people in and out of there that we may or may not be aware of. Just walking back and forth, I notice lots of traffic. I'm pretty sure Councillor Toss could say the same, because she's been up and down there a lot as well. So I like the potential of it. I'm with Councillor Lightfoot about finding out whether or not the launch is really something that's worth doing, because there is a launch over here and people are using it over here, and do we need to? And I personally don't think so, but hey, be worth finding out. So those are my initial comments on playing in the sand.
Okay, Councillor Toss.
Thank you. So just to follow up on Councillor McCann as well, the launch and Councillor Lightfoot's comments around the viability of the launch, I agree that it might not be worthwhile. So I think that's what I'm more interested in, is how much it would cost to get it to fighting form, and if that makes it worthwhile. But I think if it is viable economically, that it's something that once it's back to fighting form, in want of better terms, it will be easier to maintain. It won't be this huge cost. As per and I do think it's worthwhile. I know that pre-fire, there was also steelhead fishermen that were using it, or sorry, sturgeon fishermen that were using it once in a while. And that also is a ECDAB opportunity in this area. The tunnel, I know Councillor McCann is well used by the youth. I know of one child personally that slipped and almost broke their leg in the ice there in the winter. They slide down it. So just so you know, that is on the radar of, like, in terms of liability or however you want to deal with that. But fun stuff for sure. But where it comes out on the road, that to me is maybe almost the first priority of like repair, because that's a really, really dangerous area where the previous pre-fire public works people would kind of just patch it with cement. And I think it's in dire straits need of a more, not necessarily overkill, but just something to keep it safe. But I think the compost toilet, that's wonderful. Is that the same as an outhouse?
No, a little different. It doesn't smell as bad. The ones I've seen, you actually crank it and it moves like a little conveyor belt out. And then I think I don't know if it composts in there or cleans out. Rec Sites and Trails BC uses them. They're kind of cool.
And they're low maintenance, obviously.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I just, love what Councillor McCann was saying about those areas that are already being used by locals to create natural sort of swim pools. There's no money involved in that, but to somehow involve the youth or a community group or somebody that's interested in maintaining that space, because there's so much potential. If there's no garbage, people are already doing it. Right up until 3 days before the fire in June, there was 2 feet of water in Lytton Creek, and it's such a low maintenance, ungentrified. I love the natural aspect of it. Ungentrified space for people to get cold, that it cool down in 50-degree heat that doesn't cost us a dime. Even if you don't want to get in the creek, it's 2 degrees cooler down there in the shade. It's a really lovely place to hang out. And like I say, it's, I think, such a wonderful natural asset of our area that we don't, that's underrated. Like, you have to be in the know to go down there. But I know there's all the jurisdiction issues, but Lytton Creek is such a gem. And I'd work people in town for 6 months building my house that didn't even know it was there. And they were like 200 feet away from Lytton Creek. And when they found out about it, they were like, oh my God, we could have been there all the time, right? Oh my goodness. So yeah, I think that, and I've seen actually locals put those big boulders around and make lovely pools, really nice pools to sit in. So yeah, I think that's a low-hanging fruit to just get somebody involved with keeping that clean and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Michelle, any comments on?
Nothing to add to that. No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Councillor Lightfoot. Yeah. Okay. So where my house is situated, I look down at the point where the rivers meet there, and I'm just amazed at the number of boats that are launched there. Like, I had no idea. And I've seen it increase over before the fire and up till now. So I think we would really need to explore the costs, the usage, those kinds of things. I know historically there's been some challenges with access to the point. Yeah. So it's not always there, right? And accessible. So, it could be an economic development opportunity for us, again, depending on the costs to maintain it, to get it ready, to, everything. But definitely, I think it's worth looking into.
Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Lightfoot.
I just wanted to say that culvert, back in the day when ferry wasn't 24 hours and we had to walk across, it actually is a haven for cougars in the wintertime too. So just know wildlife comes in and uses that corridor. The main lot above, east of the track. So I think maybe we want to look at it in 2 phases. Maybe we want to evaluate what the raft takeout is, what happens below. I do believe Public Works has an outflow pipe there.
Yeah.
But
I was
that's
shown it.
part of the reason the road went in originally, was so they could use that maintenance. But the parking lot, the ferry's down again for 10 days or whatever. And I know accommodating the West Side residents isn't a priority for the village, but it's a reality. When I look at that parking, so I've got firsthand experience of the parking lot right now. When I look from where the cars are parked towards the creek, it is tall grass. It's got a load of fuel there that needs to be managed. And so somehow, if that could be leveled and maybe just gravelled so that we don't have all that fuel accumulating over the summer, it is a risk area that we should maintain. So but the composting toilet, I would say at least 2, because there are a large number of people that use it. And having a picnic table there and garbage cans, those are really inexpensive items that we could get going right away, I think, for the next year.
Okay.
So our question, let's see, CIO Monbercat.
Thanks, Mayor O'Connor. I just wanted to add, speaking about the tall grasses and stuff, we're actually right now working with CN and our surveyor to try to identify on maps whose property is whose, but also physically where they start and stop, because a lot of that property, I think, is on the federal lot. that's owned by Environment Canada. And so we're trying to figure out exactly where the pins should be. I don't believe there's any there. And possibly looking at it's not inexpensive to do it, but looking at getting the surveyor to come and put the pins back in place, because it really matters how much property we have and how much of it is flat and how much of it is cleared, when we're talking about any potential plans in the area. So we're trying to get to the bottom of that and then figure out whose property it is so we can figure out how to get it maintained.
Yes, thank you for that information. I was going to ask, so is the raft takeout down by the river, is that village property, or do we have a lease with CN for that property? We do, okay. Thank you.
And sorry, and actually a lot of it is with foreshore, so it's provincial too.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Councillor Toss, your hand was up, I believe. Yeah.
Just Councillor Lightfoot's comment about the cougar. I think the one cougar death in this area was in a culvert up by Gladwin. So yeah, that's totally actually a realistic concern. But I just wanted to say about the access to the confluence, Mayor O'Connor, about how many boats. Yes, I've noticed that as well. But within, I think it was our chamber meeting, it might have been the LFN council to council, but at some point Jason Robertson mentioned he's planning on putting a gate down there because of the liability with people getting stuck with taking their boats in and out. And then he looked to Bernie. I can't remember where the setting was. Bernie Fandrich, of course, with Come Sheet, and said, of course, you guys will get a key. So it sounded like it would be sort of like a keeper of the key type situation, which makes it not maybe so viable as a boat launch for people that, for an ECDEB potential for the village. So that makes our other boat launch maybe more important, just putting it out there.
Thank you. All right. Question about compostable toilets. Are they year round? Or are they functional?
I believe they are, but I will check. I haven't used one in the winter, but I will check. Okay.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm thinking out loud right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, water. I mean, the creek is there most of the year, but I don't believe the weather station has water at this point. At one point it did, but somehow that line was broken right around the creek before the driveway.
Okay.
So I don't know if that line's still viable or in existence. I can't remember who was working at the time where it became defunct. But again, having a hydrant or something, if there is a line down there, having some sort of water access might be valuable in case of fire, or just for people that need water for drinking or whatever.
Yeah, good. Okay, are there any other comments regarding the river park? To stop and think what it's called. Okay, let's move on then to Pocket Park. Last of the 4 parks. It's so great to see improvements that have been done with the washrooms and the shade structure. And there's more to go with the grant money. So comments? Councillor McCann, I can see you're ready to talk.
I'm thinking about it. First of all, I noticed that there's snow guards on.
Yes, I meant to say that, yes.
But I looked at the plan and I was trying to picture it and I couldn't picture it. So the plan that you included with us, let's see if I can find it. So yeah, there it is. A whole bunch of circles on top of a green background. And I'm trying to imagine what on earth that's going to look like. Because I can't. So can you just give us a little what maybe that represents? Because it's
so there
W, M, and W. And
so you scroll across, it then references their normal name on the map plan, and then when the other attachment has the examples. So I think when I first saw it, I went, whoa, there's a lot going on. Can we afford this? But realizing you're probably all bought plants from the nursery, that's a 6-inch plant. So each one of that, and the ones that are so many, it's plugged because they're grasses. So they just go as plugs. So yeah, I should actually have had sort of the description, but the intent was to do this more seasonal color, low maintenance, approach. Yeah, and that you would have variation to start, but then as they establish, there'd be less and less. Yeah, and I'm not quite sure. I probably should have had Tom here that could explain it to you, but that's really his vision, and it's not something obviously people come in and sit in. It's more of a looking park.
So is the slope just kind of like right now, there's little bits of what do you call it? Terracing.
Like a land-
Yeah.
And so is the terracing gonna be all gone or is
No,
it
there's-
still gonna be there?
Yeah, he would still have the terraces, and I think that's how he's sort of
Oh,
done them.
yeah, that's not clear on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so that they're not,
Yeah.
yeah, and is to keep the existing terracing, and then, yeah. So it's really just a visual. And I think it's sort of against what wildscaping is, but I always think of like a really typical English garden that's just sort of not a coiffed one, but it's just plants and it's full and it's pretty and it changes. Yeah. So that's.
Councillor Lightfoot.
So I'm looking at this picture and I tried to find it on the side, but those red dots up on the south side of the
Red
stairway,
dots, say lamp stands or fire hydrants?
Yeah.
Lamp stands.
the lamp stands.
Yeah, the current lamp
Okay,
stands.
everything that's red is a light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. There was a sprinkler system within that,
Yes.
or God knows if it's viable or not.
It is still there, and but we will to redo it because it's been really complex. So yeah.
So the, on the north side, I guess it would be the concrete pad, that's for that washroom to be permanently fixed there? or-
I don't think so. That's just an existing condition, and as I understood, the public washroom will be moving to the village office.
Well, I think that's a probability, but I think it's a decision that's still in the make.
Yeah, I think that public washroom that's there won't be a permanent washroom because it's not going to last. It wasn't very expensive to begin with. So we can definitely make the decision to put a more permanent washroom there. But also just remembering that there's public washrooms right across the street in the visitor center and the village
And the
office.
hub ones, it's.
But the only dilemma that causes is in off-season or closed days.
Mhm.
To have
Chances are,
24
yeah.
To have 24/7 access,
Yeah.
it makes it more viable to be in the park.
Yeah.
But Noni and I, Councillor McCann and I viewed it as we drove by today, and it is somewhat ugly. We'll maybe talk about it later, but we were thinking maybe a bulletin board or something there to mask its coldness.
Public art project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or a little roof.
It is ugly, but it's functional. I can't believe the number of people I see stopping to use it, so.
Yeah, but that's why I kind of hesitate to get rid of it because it does get well used in at all the times of the day and night, right?
Yeah.
So like if I was traveling through with a kid, I'd sure be happy to see that popping up on my radar.
Okay, other comments around Pocket Park?
Where would the
Councillor
water-
Toss?
Oh,
Sorry,
sorry, Councillor.
Councillor Toss?
Right, I only had one window open there. I couldn't see if you guys for a minute there. My comments on Pocket Park currently is I do see people still going down Second Avenue or even going into the empty lot between I guess Denise's and the Chinese Museum to walk their dogs and whatnot. And I wonder if in the immediacy, and it's been brought forward to me from, I can't even remember who mentioned it, but that the neighboring property that has the sign to keep people off their lot, I think it's like do not enter private property, might be misconstrued as part of that development from as people are driving because they just don't seem to use it. So I don't know what the solution is there, if there's like a line or, public from here on, or please feel free to stop here because I think people are still stopping in random places without realizing it's there. Having said that, it is being well utilized, but we're not getting all of the people that are going through for arrest because they just don't realize it's public. And in the washrooms too, you have to be almost by it to see the signs. So even something as you're coming into town that might be temporary that says at the bottom of this hill, you can use a bathroom and somewhere to sit and eat a sandwich with shade or whatever that looks like. I just think people don't know it's there as much as possible. I think it's doing awesome. I'd love to see some of those boulders being used that are getting put either down in Hobo Hollow or taken away from Lytton ECDev. They make excellent landscape features, and I know the Fraser Canyon signs all used rocks for their landscape architecture at great cost. So we have them, we have the machinery. It seems silly not to be incorporating them as much as possible wherever possible. My last comment, and this is just in regards to the sort of demographic and the people I see coming through the village and stopping, are a lot of dog walkers. And they let their dog out for a quick run. And I wonder, I know in Delta, when I go to Kamloops for chores, I'll look up fenced dog park, and I'll go there. That is an attraction for people when they're stopping. So if we had somewhere that was off leash, where that had a little bit of shade and some water for the dog, where people had the opportunity to just let their dog run while they had their sandwich, it would draw people into the village. So if we could incorporate that somewhere into any of these parks, I think, if you're looking at a Lonely Planet or an online guide, there's so many people with dogs now that catering to that, just a little dog dish at the bottom of whatever water feature and having a little fenced area somewhere in some of this plan somewhere would be to our benefit. Thank you. Maybe
Thank you.
Hobo Hollow area, because that's
Yeah,
nice
that's
and
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Councillor McCann, did you have your hand up?
I was trying to
next?
figure out where the water is gonna go in this, because does it stay where it is? Like the spray part, the spray thing, I don't see, is it on here? And I just can't.
No, it's movable, so you can put it where it works, but the thought was probably close to that upper bigger red dot
Okay,
in that area. So the water runs right along there, and we went on site and the irrigation just comes right off of where the concrete pad in the washroom are.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so somewhere in that general neighborhood, and that there'll be some kind of a plan that'll come with those located on it before. All right.
Councillor Lightfoot.
I just wanted to add on to what Councillor Toss was talking about, the dogs and how many people have dogs. I just want to help in my experience when I was at the village office. We had a lot of complaints about dog droppings.
Mhm.
And so we were exploring doggy bags. And I know in my travels in various locations in Alberta and in BC, a lot of parks have just a small metal container that says, please be responsible for your dog's leavings. And so I think that's just something we need to be aware of and maybe incorporate in some of these designs. I think they're relatively inexpensive, but it does encourage owners to be responsible for it's part of the maintenance.
Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Michelle, did you have any comments regarding
Nothing to add, no.
Pocket Park? Yeah. Councillor Toss?
Just mentioning, great idea, Councillor Lightfoot. They have it up at the high school. At KSS, they've got a little doggy bag and it's well used. So that's a great idea. I think what I've seen in Delta when I take my dog to the fenced dog parks is a high level of responsibility of the people that come in and close the gate behind them. There's like a nice big sign there that says, these are your responsibilities while you're here. Your dogs can't be vicious. You got to make sure, and so cleaning up after your dog and having those bags available is sort of inherent in that plan. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything else regarding Pocket Park? Councillor Lightfoot.
I just want to say, I just want to put this out. I don't know if it's relevant or not. Initially, I was disappointed in the location of the shade structure. But viewing it now, I realize it's probably in the best spot because the shade does extend northward. So you're getting more shade having it located on the south side. So just wanted to say I'm actually quite pleased. Driving down the road, it looks great. And Councillor Toss's comment about making it more visible, along the highway, we're all looking for those rest stop signs. So maybe even some homemade version of rest stop on 4th and Main would give people a heads up before they drive by.
Thank you. I'll just add to the shade as well. In our last heat wave, I can't even remember when that was, last month, I think, when I was going down Main Street, the way the sun was shining, I realized that the entire Pocket Park was in the shade because of the way that it shifted over. So I was thinking the same thing, that the location is great, as well as I climbed to the top of the stairs and looking out, you can actually see down 4th Street, whereas I don't know that you would have been able to see as much. So the view is spectacular. There's in the plan here, I believe, I think I read somewhere about a bench or a picnic table on the landing halfway up the stairs. I think that's a fabulous idea. It would encourage people to go up there and take in the view. Because right now you can walk up and stand there and lean on the fence, but to have a bench or a picnic table is a fantastic idea. And I'm glad you explained about the terracing, because I took a look at this and went, what's the difference between this and what's there now, which is all weeds? But you did explain that, and about the water, because I do worry that the maintenance of those gardens on that slope, on those terraces, is a lot more than just a flower bed on flat ground, so that's just a thought to consider, right? And I know there's been research done around, as you said, the good the garden you want takes over from the weeds, but like we know in Lytton, we just look out here at Spitland Park, what happened this spring, and the work that had to be put into it to get rid of the weeds.
Okay.
And there's weeds everywhere here. So just
make that.
it looks beautiful. I just worry about that. Councillor Lightfoot.
I'm not sure that the rose bushes are still along the top of the wall, but I have to say, I think a number of people would be disappointed if we ripped those out. They were flowering after the fire. They have been so tough and resilient. And
They're now.
it's just one little band of color.
Yeah.
And he has put in roses, so I actually did follow up with him to say, are we keeping the roses? So I'll follow up.
Can I ask about the wall that's leaning out a little bit? If I remember correctly, we had it looked at and it's fine.
But we need to repair it, and that's part of this.
Okay.
It'll be repaired.
Thank you. Councillor Toss, your hand was up.
Thanks. Yeah, just to the roses, I couldn't agree more about saving what we already have and having an established plant and not ripping out and reinventing the wheel. The roses, like anecdotally on my properties, have done fantastic, and I have volunteers coming up through post-fire through the turf I put down, actual rose bushes popping through from before the fire that are incredibly resilient. All they need is weeding around them and watering them, and it would just be a crying shame if we ripped out what we already have established.
Okay, Councillor McCann.
Oh, when you were talking about putting something on the flat halfway up, yes, to a bench, but we also had an idea a while back, and maybe it's worth just adding it to the list of with a question mark, some kind of fitness equipment, because the stairs are used as a let's run up and down. And so if you kind of want to pause and do something in the middle, just consider it as an option, right?
Yeah, there used to be a whole bunch of grants for those.
Yeah.
Are there any other comments regarding Pocket Park? Okay, and so we'll just move on to the wayfinding signs. We'll just have a quick discussion about those. Because they are so important, so key. we've been talking about it throughout these parks as well. Councillor McCann.
How about you just kind of remind us what we mean by wayfinding? Just.
That's exactly what you've been talking about, washroom here, washroom down the road, the little signage that is often in communities, they're like little arrows and they point you.
Yes.
So you would come into town and you'd see the sign that says community hub or the swimming pool or the village office. It's just directing you. Yeah.
And the street signs are also
Yeah.
included in that? Because
Well, the reason I put that one, they're effectively a street sign, but if you wanted to draw on those themes, and some of the work that I did is wayfinds usually done with community members, like I would probably reach out to the chamber and others and just see. They are at this time, it would be just the public facilities, but again, it's a balance between that whole branding, whether you want to rebrand or not. Or you really just want to direct it. I don't think they need to be branded per se, but they, just consistent.
So will some of that information come out of the OCP process?
Well, I think, and I mean, that's a little bit of a question whether the whole branding exercise would come out. I think it would feed it, like, the first question will, the whole visioning and all that. And then I would assume that who's working on the branding would then take that information to help inform and the work that the hub has been doing as well. But this would more or less just be, you work with the community, you do a design. And then it could be phased where the first phase is really just public. And then if private companies wanted to, then maybe they would buy their thing to put on. Yeah, so thinking, I didn't dig too deep because you need a plan. Like, we need to help. This is more just saying, can we start this?
Rather than slap up signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other comments or Councillor Lightfoot?
The only other comment I'd make to that is that, we will also need to engage some outsiders who are coming to Lytton to understand how they are like looking for things when they get there. Like normally you would do full on kind of customer research when you were doing a wayfinding strategy to make sure that the people that the signs are intended for, are looking for those things or that you're signing the things that they're looking for. I think in Lytton it's a little bit simpler because it's fairly small and we know the number of things that people are going to be looking for. But we'll make sure we kind of get a little bit of an outside perspective to make sure that we're not being too insular.
Yeah. Councillor Lightfoot.
Again, Councillor McCann and I, as we drove by the Pocket Park today, we were reminiscing that we used to have a timber frame bulletin board downtown. And I'm wondering if that could be sort of like the interim phase between having our signage developed. But somewhere so that if someone stops at that park, they know there's a gas station across the Thompson. A lot of people don't even realize that there's a gas station, or they understand that there's a community store up a 2 mile, or they understand, other possibilities. Something not permanent so much as just protected and where people could post notices.
Yeah.
So they know
Some kind of a map.
the holiday train's coming in whenever it comes in, or the Christmas parade is on whatever day, just to have something in the downtown core. I know there's one out that gets swept, but I don't believe it gets used that much. It's somewhat damaged, and people just aren't used to looking at it. Whereas at that spot, it would have high viewership, I think.
So just for information, before the fire, we had three or four places where we had we had a timber framer on council at the time who made timber frame bulletin boards with plexiglass sliders that could be, so the papers were protected and everybody used them because of course we don't have a local newspaper, right? As well as in the post office, but it's not always open. But this was anybody walking down the street, visitors, residents could check it out for information. And I think that's a fabulous idea. I know when we talked about the village office rebuilding, my thought was on the outside of the village office having it, but in the meantime, maybe something we could look at for particularly Pocket Park because it's so central.
Yeah.
There used to be two.
Councillor, is it two? Okay, Councillor Toss.
Thanks. Just on the on that, I think also like a little book closet would be kind of nice to add to that. And I know we have one in the parish hall, but again, not always open, and would be nice to have the public being able to access it. With the bulletin board and the book kiosk, if that were to happen, it would take some maintenance though, and I'm wondering if a community group might be approached to do that, because notices need to be taken down. Sometimes they're inappropriate, like in terms of maybe being too personal or something to that effect. And I think it would be neat too, because it would encourage people, like say if they had something for sale, like a rental or anything like that as well. Could be encouraged to use it. But I do think we have to be clear on who's going to maintain it, because there is a level of that. And I like the mayor's idea of eventually it going on the village office on the outside too.
Yeah.
The Two Rivers Community Service Society put them up before, made sure they were paid for, made sure they were looked after. Pretty sure that we could do that again.
Yay!
Pretty much the same people doing the same thing. I'm pretty sure that's not a big overreach on my part.
Two Rivers Group put them up out at the post office. So for
Okay,
example.
perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments about signage, Wayfair signs?
Something just clicked when you were talking about that. So what is the flag part? Is there any kind of wayfinding intentions there? Because that's coming off the highway, and that's the place where you want to let people know what's down the hill. But I'm not sure how. Like in my mind, I haven't got a picture of that because probably I've never seen it, but I have seen it in other towns where they do have something on the outside of town that says, go down this way and you're going to find this, and this, right?
There's the provincial signage program, and we could maybe look at that too, because it's probably, I'm sure they had it before.
Yeah, there is.
Tons of stuff.
If you were able to explore that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What they have and what we could do, like there's a little line.
There's usually
There's
like,
a fine line of what you can put on the highway and what you can't, right?
but I've seen them like, a good example. I always thought it was just like, oh, there's a restaurant, so they put the little knives and forks. But I noticed in Whistler, they now have like the Squamish Little Cultural Center has its own like museum, which is almost sort of different. But a washroom would be really good.
Yeah.
And I've seen on a welcome to Lytton or welcome to wherever sign, and then on the side, attached. I'm trying to think where I've seen it, but in other communities, right?
Okay.
Sort of a list that can be replaced as businesses open or close down or whatever.
Or you can just put the little graphics underneath, like the little accommodation graphic and the knife and the fork and the gas pump, and those go along the bottom of your welcome to Lytton's or something like that, right?
Yeah, something that
Just the people assume there's nothing here.
Yeah.
that's right. They're still assuming that. So
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Michelle, anything regarding the signs? No. Besides slow down as you're going through town. All right. If there is no more, anybody else, any final comments? Councillor Toss.
Hi there. I know I brought this up with UCAO Mumberkit, and I'm not just sure where we sit on it, and I'm not sure if I actually looked again. But after our discussion on the bigger sign issue, I remember seeing the Modi and the police station sign to the right and the Highway 1 straight ahead on Main Street. And I think you told me it was like a Modi thing and a police thing or whatever have you. Are they still there? I didn't actually ask you again if we followed up on that, or if that's something that we could write a quick letter about.
Yeah, I went back and asked our local Ministry of Transportation rep if there are signs, but I asked them if we could remove them, and he said yes, go ahead. So they're all going.
Oh, thank you. That's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you.
Those are the signs, of course, that we don't need right now. So, yeah. Okay.
Well, they had the police station to the right, for example. Yeah.
Okay. That then, we have no other business. So that brings us to the end of this meeting. So we do need a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting. Councillor McCann, seconder. Please, Councillor Lightfoot, all those in favor? Carried. So the motion was to adjourn and to return to open meeting. And so we're back in our open meeting, which is our special council meeting, and we do need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that one too.
Councillor McCann and a seconder.
Toss.
Thank you, Councillor Toss. So thank you everyone for attending. And I know we had some people watching online. I hope it was informative, and we'll be back for regular council meeting next week, I believe. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll turn it back over to Corporate Officer Storchenko.
So thank you, Mayor O'Connor. So that concludes the special council meeting and the committee of the whole meeting of October 7th. Thank you for attending. We wish